All right, well, it's feast or famine around here. It's been months since I've recorded and shared anything, but now here we are with something fresh and new. And you'll all be relieved to note I'm joined by a guest. I first met him as Disembowel, one of my favorite internet names ever.
Thanks.
But in the real world, Scott Welker. Scott, thanks for
Yeah.
joining. And
No,
we're
this is
going to
awesome.
talk about everybody's favorite topic, which is what?
My favorite spicy topic, immersion.
Immersion. Yeah.
Immersion.
Viewers of this channel are no strangers to the fact that we talk about immersion a fair bit. Uh, and over the last year and a half or so, I guess on the podcast, if you are into an audio only format, then there's been a lot of stuff going through piece by piece about immersion. Right. So I think when we met long ago, the the ice pick breaking through the conceptual barrier moment was talking about there's more than one kind of immersion.
Yeah.
And then that conversation in the RPG Brigade days turned into, for example, there's immersion in character. There's immersion
Yeah.
in like the gameplay or the camaraderie. There's immersion in you know, your imagination of the scene, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This did not stick.
No.
So it slid back into the term immersion. And we've been wrestling with it ever since, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've gone back and read like the early alarms and excursions stuff from the 70s
Oh no. Uh-uh.
or the quotes that John Peterson drew out for like playing at the world and the
So
elusive shift.
yes, yeah, I have seen those. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The elusive shift especially shows us that conversation about these things has not changed
No. No.
since around 1975.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
So let's see if you agree with this premise. We start playing the game, and right from the very first session, we have reactions to it. And then as our familiarity with whatever it is that we're doing, as the game increases, our observations of why we like it become a little bit more stable, and we start pushing for the part of it that we like. Does that seem like a
Mhm.
fair assessment?
Yeah. 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 I think that's fairly accurate. Yeah.
So then, right from the very beginning, when these people are writing to their fanzines, like Alarms and Excursions,
Yeah.
they start lobbying for OD&D or D&D at that time should be played this way,
Yeah.
their way.
Yep.
And we immediately see the in-character guys and the out-of-character guys have appeared out of the woodwork, even though the game itself is completely silent
Yeah.
on how to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're, in a sense, we must be wired to imagine things or conceive of things in a specific way.
Yeah.
Or is that a
Sure.
bridge too
Yeah.
far?
No, no, no. I think you're right because I think, because really it comes down to, I, I think the base forms of this are going to be, or even early on. And I think you and I both started gaming really early, probably in the early '80s,
Yep.
with Dungeons and Dragons, original D&D. And I gravitated immediately to the voices, the characters, and that's what mattered most to me. But on the converse of that, I think is where you have the war gamers, or the people who are probably prone to war games because they're the ones who like the fine details of things, which normally people who are in the narrative side, we don't really, could not care less about bonuses or what your character build is. It just doesn't matter to us. And yeah, I think that's pretty fair that early on, that's where that divide probably came from. D&D's roots are war game, but like you said, it doesn't really talk about being a role-playing game. It doesn't really, it's a very sterile presentation of here's the rules, here's the things that you can and can't do. Go.
Yeah.
But it talks about imagining to be in the role without spell. Yeah, it's very contradictory.
Yeah. So the page count of original D&D matters.
Yeah,
You know, written
yeah,
on a typewriter, maybe in the basement. You know, I mean,
yeah,
there's a reason why it's terse. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
I can't afford another page to talk about. Okay, I want you to imagine.
Right.
You know, I just can't. You know, here are the rules.
Yeah, it mattered back then.
Yeah, and it worked anyway, right? So we've got
Yeah,
the war game community is able to recognize that drive to realize or provide a personality for, to anthropomorphize their units or their individual figure or whatever, and just
yeah,
play. I think,
yeah, yeah,
but play how?
yeah,
How we talk to each other
yeah.
is partly a choice and partly isn't, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And missing social cues is also either you have to be able to pick up on those cues, I think, from your fellow players or from the GM. I think that will also help develop how you understand the game, or at least at that table, because every table is going to be different. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's set the Wayback Machine. The
Okay.
first game of yours that I got that you wrote is this one.
Yes, my
OSR.
cleverly titled OSR.
Right. Oubliette Sorcery and Reavers. Very, very purple.
Yes, that's our company theme is purple. It's throughout everything we do.
Love it. Has this been rebranded for Thieves Guild, or is this still
It's still
Runeslinger?
under the old company. I have the draft of like a second edition or sort of a cleanup edition of it that we'll do under Thieves Guild. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm sure it needs
So,
some love here and there.
in terms of what we're talking about,
Mhm.
the play experience, which may or may not include immersion, how did how much of this book was informed by that idea?
Ooh,
Gary and Dave devoted 0 pages to that idea.
yeah, and I put some in there. Also, I will say that much like them, I asked ahead of time of how much it would cost to edit and lay it out, and I never should have done that because that also that
Sure, that was
informed my
smart.
page count. Yeah, and it was like it was the first thing, and I was really nervous about it. Now I don't care because I know how much my layout guy is going to charge. I'm like, okay, cool. I make it an effort to put more into it. So that's kind of that book has suffered a little bit because of that. But as far as the immersion side of the house for that book, man, that's a good question because it didn't really the reason I wrote it wasn't really for a narrative or immersion, but I wanted to make sure that I had given players and GMs like a tone that there's a little thin veneer of a setting in there, but I wanted to give it enough tone to say, oh, well, your elves are weird, and here's why, and there's some mechanical and so I would do a narrative, but I would add mechanics to back up the narrative. If that's understandable, and hopefully that's your understanding of having gone through it. You did a really good review of it, and that's always been my goal was like, what's going to be the coolest thing at the table, and now how do I make the mechanics work for that?
Right.
Yeah.
To serve it in some way.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of have to because I don't want to make it. Yeah, I know everyone thinks I pick on D&D, but Dungeons and Dragons is great for high fantasy. Dungeons and Dragons is not great for spy games. It's not great for space games. You can do it, yeah, but it's not really, and that's why games like Savage Worlds does so well. Yes, you can do anything, and there are some naysayers. Powered by the Apocalypse, that's a little bit different of a difficult conversation because I think that's more narratively driven from the beginning, and it makes the setting work for the conversation. Year Zero Engine is another great example of those rules are so ubiquitous that they go with any genre. But yeah,
And
yeah,
they're willing to change them up to
yeah,
yeah.
yep, Yeah, and I think that's so for me personally. I think it's important when you're looking at game design and game philosophy and game theory is that does your intent and your tone match your narrative and your delivery on mechanics, or are you just forcing a round peg into a square hole?
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Like in the atmospheric horror genre that I gravitate toward,
yeah,
that a game system which says, okay, roll, okay, now roll something else, okay, now
yeah,
roll something else, or
yeah,
or do some math, or enter a
yeah,
negotiation out of character as
yeah,
players about some outcome or some opportunity. This is antithetical to purpose and
yeah.
breaks tone. I can't have a I'd like to push the roll, please, or would you like to push the roll, please? I
Yes,
can't do that in a scary way. Would you like to
I was
push
just
the
thinking of
roll?
that. I ran Vesson, and but I didn't do Vason. We used the rules to do Call of Cthulhu because I was curious of how well it would handle, that kind of level of horror. And yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, it's that immediate extraction every time. But I have proffered there's a way out of that. I've talked to my actual group that I game with and my co-designer and whatnot, and I told him we could do this. We could do a heavy, intense narrative game with almost any system, but it will require a couple of things. And maybe I'm getting ahead of the conversation. You
Nope.
have to have people, you have to have a small group. You cannot possibly do like I think that you can't do the Holy Grail with 5 people or 6 people. Four is probably pushing it. Three is probably a great size number of players plus the GM. But the players, everyone has to understand the rules and everyone has to be willing not to ask. I know I'm a thief, but I'm going to go ahead and say something stupid like, "Can I pick the lock?" God damn, you're playing the thief. Of course you can pick a lock. Like, you have to have those people not do the mother may I questions, which Shauner was famous for talking about, but he's right. And then you have to have the players who are willing to, everything has to be below, I guess, the surface or behind the screen, literally. And they can see their roles. I don't need to know you rolled how many successes, just narrate what happens. Or, you tell me, like, oh, I approached the door and I carefully open it up with my fingers. That tells me you made a success and now I'm going to respond. Or you can say,
Right.
I'm trying to open this up and I am really straining myself. And finally I managed to pull it open. Like, oh, okay, then something has gone wrong. And that means you push the roll. But I think that is, I, I think it might be, it sounds weird, but that might be more stressful of a way to play than most people are willing to do.
Well, the feedback I'm getting on our long running Call of Cthulhu actual play,
Yeah,
we, in that particular AP series, we don't really show the before game talk.
sure.
There's a couple of videos where we do, but like we have a before game recap kind of calibration part, and then the recording starts with whatever the opening lines of the game actually are. But we
Yeah,
do show the post game discussion, and there's a lot of talk about because it's run in that style, right? There's a
yeah, yeah,
the roles are are waived if I assess that the skill level is appropriate and they're subdued or they're signaled in another way.
sure. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
only your awareness of the intricacies of the mind will
yeah,
allow you to figure out what this person is going through, and then the player will roll psychology or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're keyed in and they understand. Yeah,
And so the feedback at the end is that that was a lot of fun, but it was really hard work.
yeah,
Like at the end of 2 hours or 90 minutes or whatever, people are tired.
yeah, sure.
And,
Yeah,
and I think it's because they're playing,
yes,
like their skill being demonstrated.
yeah,
They're not saying, "Oh, just a minute," and then looking over
yeah,
the character sheet for the item that they need. That happens,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
the idea is that there's a certain amount of player skill required to achieve that. The goal
yeah,
of that is to minimize the difference between the player's experience and the character's experience.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I'm thinking of what to say, it should match up with what the character would say, not some half state between player and character and not fully out of character.
Yeah.
And that I'm actively imagining what has been described and filling in the blanks of what hasn't been described, because
Mm-hmm.
that's my job.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And allowing things to be vague enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I imagine with some of your games, like Task Force Raven, there's a lot of combat.
Yeah, there can be. It just, yeah. I mean, it depends on how they want to handle the operation. Um, a lot of times there's so many numbers that I try to get them to understand that from a civilian perspective, yes, I get it. Everyone thinks we just go in and we kick in doors and we blow shit up. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. And
Okay.
we're just bullet murdering everybody and chopping people up. And yeah, that happens, but that's usually the result of something going sideways. And so yeah, trying to keep that steady flow and remind them, like, yes, you are the best in the world, but that is a skill set that is best used, in small measures. Because, if you're 4 operators versus a warehouse full of cartel members, you're not going to last long in a game that is very deadly. Yeah, so. But yes,
I brought up the combat example as that it's difficult to, if people are unfamiliar, like you said, then we're not going to be able to reach the level of play where people just know the game.
Yeah.
And you can trust the person who's shooting or the person who's, forcing open the door or planting a charge or whatever. You can't, you have to tell them how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once we've reached the place where we can all communicate on a level appropriate for maintaining a unity of perspective, as Primeval Fantasy likes to call it, right? A unity of perspective between the player and the character. Once we can play that way, then you have the opportunity to really focus your attention on what you're imagining, because your attention isn't elsewhere. It's not like, what do I roll?
Absolutely.
Where's my die? It can be on what you're imagining.
Yeah.
And as you were talking about in your recent video about autotelic engagement, right?
Yeah.
That opens up the opportunity to focus your attention sufficiently that you can have the experience, you can have the reaction of not paying attention to other things.
Yes. Yes.
Which is immersion.
Yes. Yes. It's just not, like I said, it's like, I think my problem is gamers want to be so right about their definition of immersion, which we've talked about, that they're willing to die on a hill that is impossible for them to ever achieve. And that is, you're never going to sit at a game table and have the same level of immersion where you sit back and you watch a movie and you look up and you go, holy crap, 4 hours just went by. I know people say it. Yes, time flies at a table, but I am talking about where you are locked into a book, a movie, a TV show, where you're just like, you are so focused that there is nothing going on around you. And, the people are like, no, it's not true. I'm like, dude, as soon as you have to do a die roll, or you have to mark hit points, or you have to do a hit location, it's over. It's 100% over. As soon as someone grabs a bag of chips and starts crunching or makes a stupid joke about Star Trek or Star Wars, it's over. The game table, the game table is such a vastly different environment than that. And I don't know why people, and that's kind of why I hard asked the topic of, like, I don't know why people are so desperate to demand that their level of immersion is the same thing. It's just not. And it's okay to understand that it's not. It's like you said, there's different levels of this.
There's different levels. It's either less intense for a percentage of the population than the movie theater, or it's only less intense because it's so much easier, in the movie theater or your surround system at home,
100%,
or that familiar book. Yeah. And of course, these days I'm finding reading books, my eyes are starting to change just enough that it's like, do I need to get glasses? If I get glasses, will I be holding the book out here, or it's becoming less immersive? There's
Yeah,
a
that
barrier
happens. That
between me and
happens.
it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just I don't know. Like I do think that there's a way of engaging, and another part of another thing that I have, I guess I take the biggest umbrage with the people who want to do this, the 4D, the immersion. They absolutely pick the worst game systems possible for it. There are game systems I am staring at right now that are so well designed to be in immersion to where you never have to worry about anything. I'm writing a game right now. We have it up on Drive Through RPG looking for feedback. It's completely free, but it's entirely narrative based. You
Is it for
control
Open
everything.
Six?
The OPENSIX, yeah. Like Powered by the Apocalypse. People are like, oh no, there's moves. No, you got to stop. That's being obtuse on purpose because you don't like Powered by the Apocalypse. You think they're woke. You don't like the designers. You have to let that go if you're going to be in this hobby. And your real quest is to go full immersion. Alien is a game that I absolutely believe that I could run in an immersive environment like we discussed, and it would be terrifying. I
Right.
run Call of Cthulhu. I love Call of Cthulhu, and I terrify people in Call of Cthulhu. We just started playing Deadlands, and there for a while it was a little, it's Savage Worlds and it's Deadlands of the Old West, and then we just got to a point where they entered basically a haunted house, and the entire tone of the game has shifted. And now they're like, oh my God, what is happening? Because it's I basically drawing on The Haunting for my inspiration for how the house behaves.
Cool.
But yeah, I don't know why I don't know why people are so against like Fate, Power of the Apocalypse, all these games that are so well written. They're just designed to do what you want to do, but they're so it's just like, no, I must have Dungeons and Dragons do exactly what I know it can't do, but damn it, I'm gonna die on this hill until I make the system work. It was like, come on.
It it's interesting, and I don't. I mean, I did a lot of martial arts with a lot of different people, but fortunately, most of what I've done, I was operating outside of my native language, so I didn't understand most of the fast, high level conversation going on around me about why someone was upset or how it should be different, or
Yeah.
in the real world where there's lava, that kind of stuff. um, in a sense, in a sense it's the
Yeah.
same, but there's
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
um, but then there's the fact that that can end up in, yeah, well, show me.
Yes.
Whereas I'm never going to be able to show anybody at my table the
Yeah.
experience, the accuracy or inaccuracy, the vibrancy or the dullness
Yeah.
of my imagination. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And we all assume that everybody imagines, but in my conversations with gamers through the years, I've learned that a lot of people don't.
No, I have gotten real spicy feedback. I, 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 the hobby at one point was for college educated people. That's just a fact. It's just where the hobby got started, and it became ubiquitous. And that means you're going to get in everybody. It is what it is. And then, yes, there are people who cannot have an apple in their head and turn that apple in a 360 rotation and see what an apple is. And I think, have you probably seen also, will they have people describe an apple in their mind, and you get a realistic apple, an apple that's like a 5-year-old drew it. You have people who like, I can't really do that for you. So yeah, you're not wrong. I agree with you. I think that we're in a dearth of people who actually can imagine at the table. And I run con games, and I run exclusively. I'll run every time slot now at a con because I refuse to be bored by someone else's terrible imagination. It sounds arrogant, but I put my actual plays online. I'm like, I'll put my money where my mouth is. I can be entertaining. I run Savage World like I'm, a chipmunk on crack. But the game system needs that kind of energy to it, where you got to pull all of that out of the players, and you're getting them to think and to gravitate and to imaginate. And it's
Sure.
just like, cool, you're going to spend your bennies. I'm going to tempt you to do these things and get rid of that meta currency. And that I think I help engross them in the theme of the game. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we get into
I really do.
the
Oh, go ahead.
We
Yeah.
get into the singer, not the song
Yes.
argument too. It's like,
Yes.
yes, a great game master can make blah blah blah, can do yada yada
Yes.
yada.
Yeah.
So okay,
Yeah.
but I'm not talking about the great game master. I'm talking
Right.
about
Yeah. Yeah.
well, step one, I'm playing this new game I haven't played before.
Yeah.
So I could put in the time and energy to I learn it, and then I teach you. So now our first play experience with this game is out of character. It's educational. We have
Yeah.
a hope that one day we'll be playing this game more
Yeah.
naturally with greater
Yeah.
familiarity.
Yep.
Or same goal, or
Yeah.
I could learn enough of the bones of the game to feel confident myself.
Hmm.
And you're playing a specialized character, and he's playing a specialized character, and
Yeah.
she's playing a specialized character, and I'm expecting you to know what the rules are about that character.
Yes. Yeah. Which is also all full of landmines, as I'm sure you're aware. You probably have really good players. We get lucky, but most players
Yeah.
do not care. They're not going to read anything you give them. Just is what it is. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so we wind up in the same place, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
you match your tactic to the people that you have. It's like, okay,
Yes.
we're gonna have to play lighter systems because no one's going to get into it. We're gonna have to play complicated systems because no one's satisfied with the light systems. So you find that thing. But if your goal is the unity of perspective, right? Or if your goal is that they're only paying attention to the content of the game, and the side effect of that might be an immersive experience. I've ended up dividing it up, actually. For my own discussions, I talk about immersion and I talk about engagement.
Yeah.
And immersion I take as a passive, right? I'm in the moments where I'm largely silent, I have an opportunity for immersing, right? Really visualizing, or at least having an empathetic reaction to my character's situation, and an ability maybe to shift from what if I were there with all of my strengths and weaknesses to, I feel this.
Yeah.
Trying or maybe achieving getting there. But the engagement side of the equation is no less engrossing. It's still the occupation of your attention. You're focused purely on how this, and it could be Rollmaster, crush critical.
I can't believe I ran that game for so long. I just But you look at multiple tables and
right.
Yeah.
And so it might the first time we had an experience of immersion, whatever it is, was unintentional. So it's attainable when the stars are right, when the circumstances are right, where the blend of people at the table are right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many people pay attention to how they got there.
I don't know either.
To reproduce it.
Yeah.
And then of the people having that experience, how many of them are actually talking to their fellow players about the symptoms of engagement, of engrossment, right? Wow, the time flew by. Or in that moment, I had a really clear mental image of the tavern you described,
Right, yeah.
Whatever it is. Right?
Yeah.
How often is this stuff being shared so that it can be reproduced? Is the game master taking credit for the whole thing? Well, my My fantasy
I would,
world.
I would hope not.
I have
Oh
delivered
man,
this experience unto you, you know.
yeah. Jesus
So,
wept. Yeah,
so it's kind of funny. But
yeah,
so the
yeah,
that it seems like the immersion we argue about is the immersion in character, which is the hardest to achieve accidentally or intentionally,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so it's again, as you said, peculiar that it's able to persist so long in the face of the fragility of that particular experience.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know if it's because you are you are engaged at a conscious level during gaming that you simply are not during a movie or even reading a book. You just basically your consciousness, I think, folds when you're at a movie that you're really into, or reading
You're
a
just
book. And
open
I
to
think,
perceive. Yeah.
yeah, and that's it. Like you're not being told anything. You're not having to worry about asking questions or moving your doll on the table. And I think that might be the fine line of like, I can get goosebumps, I can tear up at a movie. That will never have ever happened to me I started gaming in 82 and I've never had that experience. And I probably never will. It's just a fact of life. Like, even on horror games, I don't know what it is, but I don't know. So I think that might be it might be part of a barrier that we have because you're constantly consciously engaged in the room, and not flying. I just don't know.
The other big consideration is that usually the experience of play at the table doesn't include the game master.
Oh,
Like if I'm running a horror game,
hmm.
I'm not devoting any energy to scaring myself.
Oh yeah, no, not at all, right? Your concern is I need to get the
I'm trying to
players
make it easier for
moving.
them to.
Yes. Yeah, to feel it, to be engaged, and
Yeah.
I have had running Call of, well, it wasn't Call of Cthulhu, it was Powered by the Apocalypse. Tremulous, I think is the name of the game. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Call of Cthulhu. But it's a lighter rules system, and we had a table going, and I would dim the lights, and I had people to a shook level, and like our dog, she came up and she jutted her nose into the crotch of one of the girls, and that girl, she damn near knocked the table over. She screamed, and so that was like, okay, so I know I've seen someone who is so pulled into the moment of descriptions of a haunted house and what's going on, where it was like, oh my God, I almost gave this girl a heart attack. So
Right.
I know it can happen. I have seen it at least one time on that. And ironically enough, it's horror, and that might be that rare genre, where because I think horror, everyone everyone on earth is afraid. We all know what fear feels like. We all know what it feels like when the hair stands up in the back of your neck. You get goosebumps. Your heart rate starts to go up. You start to feel that maybe it's a panic attack, maybe not. The dark starts making you nervous. The oppressive nature of trying to go spelunking. I think that is so visceral and so ingrained in us that horror is probably the easiest genre to capture because, like fantasy, I don't know what it's like to be, a damn Bronze Age swordsman. No one does. You know, that's why I rally against like you got to role play your bard being charming, but I'm gonna let the fighter get away with just saying he swings his sword. No, damn it. If you want me to do a soliloquy and then roll dice and then we're gonna do whatever you want, we're gonna go down to my garage and you're gonna do a military press right now to prove you can bend bars, lift gates. It's no damn different to me, in that demand level of like, oh, I want to see what you can do. You can't just describe what your character is going to do. I want to see you do it. Even though most gamers don't have an 18 charisma, nowhere near it. Despite what we believe, we're not 18 wisdom, 18 intelligence. We're not the best looking, not the strongest people on earth. We're nerds
We're
for a
not.
reason. And I think those genres make things very difficult. But I do think horror is probably the purest genre that as human beings that we can understand at an instinctual level and become probably more immersed at the table.
A lot of a lot of horror games are also like culturally accept. There's an expectation that you're
Mm,
playing someone just like you. Like you're not playing
Yes.
a hero.
Yeah.
You're playing the
Yeah.
grocer who.
Yeah. Yeah. I could literally I can pretend what it's like to be a journalist who's trying to get a story. And then all of a sudden there's weird things happening that I can't explain. I'm like, no, 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 no. You know, I ran Call of Cthulhu, and my wife and her friend, the rest of the party was kind of in on the bit because everyone knows, right? Ultimately, you're still in on the bit. Well, those two were like, what are we doing? No, 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 we're not going back in that place. It's goddamn haunted. Like, no. What are you guys going to do? Let's just burn it down. And, you know, and it's a Corbett house. And it's just like, and inside you're like, well, you're supposed to go down. And you're supposed to have the dagger fight, come at you. And then you got to go through the wall and you got to find Mr. Corbett's body. But they were playing, I think, at a more realistic level.
More
of
realistic.
Like, yeah, it's like, no, I'm not going in that stupid haunted house. You're out of your mind.
And that I think is a huge success.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, cool. And they're like, what happens? And I just described the ending of the game. I was like, yeah, the house burns down and here comes the fire department. Blah, they do all the things. And, your characters, you have a little bit of more set. You have some complications, which, because always you have this extra sanity loss for not achieving the goodness. And we just described that. And that was it. And they were like, this is awesome. I was like, you guys understand you didn't really, like, you played the game, but you didn't play the game.
You didn't, but that gets us into the, story versus no story kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's not go there.
I was super proud. No, yeah. I was super proud of him. I was like, this is the first time in 40 years someone has willingly not done the stupid thing.
Yeah. I'm going into the basement. No, stay up here. I want to go alone.
Right? Yeah, it was great. I was like, man, this is good.
I don't need the axe.
But yeah.
It's okay. All right, so years pass, and found year zero, and you produced your own year zero game.
Yeah. We did the OSR the first time around. Well, I'm sorry, year zero using a modified D20 system. And then I got really involved with the year zero engine. So, and then we got, Neon Blood year zero. Just to clarify.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
It's good. So, what, if anything, changed about this topic in your creation of this?
Oh, man. So I think with the year zero engine, part of it is year zero engine didn't have a good cyberpunk game. I mean, one at all, really. And so as part of that was a little bit of, hey, let's get to the punch on this and put out a cyberpunk product for that system. And then it was like, well, the system can handle it. And then as I started looking at converting over from the D20 side, it was like, oh, okay, well, we can really, really engage the player more with the world and how the characters are developed, because I think the year zero engine with the pushing the rolls, just the development, all the little nuances of how the year zero engine functions really helped inform the overall tone of the setting a lot better than the D20. D20 was written because I was dissatisfied with cyberpunk initiative systems, is honestly the impetus of that game. And then we went on, and then I was like, okay, cool. And I spill everything around that and make everything as cool as possible. And still do a mechanical reason of why it works. But with year zero, I think I played a handful of year zero engine games. I own everything those guys do now. And it was like, okay, cool. This is a system that's right in my alley because it allows me to flow faster as a GM. And I know narratively now I can really engage the players faster, and I don't need to wait. I don't need them to add up anything or look at character sheets or really think. It's like boom, 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 let's do this. And then they can really engage their characters, and we can get more to the role-playing aspects of like, okay, cool, we're going to go out and do the missions and kill people and all that jazz. That's fine. It's cyberpunk. But now it's the back end where Neon Blood, I think, really separates itself from other cyberpunk games. Is the post mission stuff. It's not your game doesn't end. The entire game is written around the purpose of, okay, cool, you killed people, you got money, now you owe almost all of that money to the corporations because they still own your cyberware. And so now you got to go adventure again because you're just caught in a debt cycle, And so that I think that year zero engine was a lot easier to handle that conversation with and make that more impactful for everyone at the table. At least it feels that way. Yeah.
So anything that we can do to ground the player in the character's experience can only help inform what they take away from it. And
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
the last major item I want to discuss, push and pull on with you, is the idea of memory.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So
Okay.
we opened up with familiarity, right? In order to get anywhere near the effect, that feeling that ends up being described as immersion, unhelpfully by the internet, right?
It is what it is.
Right. Being skilled at playing the game, being comfortable playing the game, developing habits, knowing who the other players are. These things are kind of essential prerequisites.
Yeah.
And then your experience will be your experience after that.
Yeah.
But after the game is over, one thing that I feel like I've noticed is that if it was a particularly good session in which I had the opportunity to really to spend time imagining what your character was doing, right? And there weren't a lot of stops and starts, or there were no retcons or any of those things, right? But there's just this.
Yeah.
I have memories of those moments which didn't happen. And they're not very distinguishable from memories which have happened.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Which, uncritically, when examined looking backward, could seem to be very immersive, because it was just like being there.
Are those memories built because of unconscious immersion, or because of a semi-conscious engagement and engrossment with what's happening in the dialogue? And I guess it's, I don't know, was it one half dozen and one kind of situation? Maybe.
I think we can't say, oh, it is this. But I might be able to say, well, for you, maybe, or for that person or this other person, maybe it wasn't the imagination of a particular scene or moment which has taken on that real memory quality.
Yeah.
Maybe it was telling the story to yourselves after. You go out for coffee after the game and you're hashing and rehashing what happened. And it was really cool when you said this, and I couldn't believe that you rolled that. And that becomes an imagination of the story.
Yeah, right? Sure.
We get to import it as a whole concept, right? This was the story of our play. And then I remember that, and that can retroactively seem to have been very immersive or engrossing or engaging, where it may not have looked or felt that way to all the participants.
Yeah, sure. Let me ask you a question, because I think anecdotally I have an answer for this, of course. Let me just posit this. I think that most people who are having a conversation about what happened at a session, 9 times out of 10, you're going to talk about the mechanical roles, the combats, and the action sequences than you will anything else. Like, oh my God, remember when we were trying to sneak in the castle because you required rolls, and then, well, we failed the roll, and then the orcs came, and that's what I mean by that. Even at the most subtle, innocent level, I think those are probably 9 times out of 10, the discussion points are all centered around the action. Instead of, man, remember when we were arguing with the barkeep and you called him a douchebag and it was so awesome? It's like, I've never heard that. But I have heard a lot of people like, oh my God, it was so crazy. You're trying to lift the portcullis up and we were just slid underneath. And, it's all these action oriented things, and, which of course you're at the table rolling those dice and making those decisions. Yeah.
From time to time, a player will do something excellent, such as coming up with a fantastic soliloquy or speech. And we were playing Star Trek Adventures face to face a couple of years ago now, and the situation was a trial. One of the characters had basically gotten in trouble with the Prime Directive by doing something that's culturally inappropriate on a planet which he couldn't imagine being culturally inappropriate. he had
Sure,
he had
yeah.
helped an old woman carry a heavy load.
Oh boy.
That's all he did.
Yeah, sure.
So this was hearkening back to a crazy Next Generation episode where Wesley
Yeah.
Crusher is going to be executed for stepping in a
Yeah,
flower
yeah.
bed. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
kind of thing. So there's no action in this. This was, several sessions of play as
Yeah.
the character is arrested. Will you agree to be arrested? Or are you going to try and like secretly beam up to the ship kind of thing? Oh, I'll stand trial, and So the character ended up having to give witness statements and testify, and they had an opportunity to give a speech at the end, and they did all of those things
Nice.
in character, in like believably in character. It was really cool.
Right on. Yeah, it's
But I
awesome.
can list that kind of
Yeah.
experience on the fingers
Yeah.
of one hand, I think, after
Yeah. And
decades of play.
that's probably not it's not players' fault. I don't think it's anyone's fault, but it's also probably how we structure our sessions and our games, and the default to action, the desire for action, things like that is probably why we have that. But yeah, that's actually really cool, to have somebody be able to do that.
Hmm.
I have a question for you about all of this. Well, maybe that's a question we can save to the very end to be the spicy question, because it's a phenomenon in gaming that I don't understand, and I'm a Gen Xer. I'm not a boomer. I really don't understand this new phenomenon whatsoever, but it affects this topic greatly, actually.
All right, well, let's dive in.
All right, solo RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like you're. I don't understand it from a fundamental level of like sitting and doing. I get some of the cool podcasts that come out of it, like Tales of the Manicore. Love it, love it. But
Yeah.
it's a story. He's writing a book, and it's a story, but there's interspersed the dice rolls. Gamers Table did something very similar for a few of their shows, and but yeah, this solo thing is like, are you immersed? I mean, I don't see how you're any level of immersion on a solo play, because everything is plotted. You got to do the dice constantly to see what's happening and where the negatives are, and you're just telling yourself a story. And so it's just like, yeah, I know little kids get immersed when they're doing imagination, but those little kids aren't focusing on mechanics and the movement of characters and things like that. They're just running around with, switches cut into, shapes of swords and pretend bows and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're outside. See, I don't know. What do you think about solo gaming in this conversation?
Well,
Or is it
for
a different
me,
topic?
no, it is exactly the same. It is exactly the same topic, right? So whatever game it is that we've chosen to play, there's going to
Yeah.
be barriers, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
if you choose to play, I don't know, just picking it at random because you mentioned it, AD&D.
Yeah.
That game has so many different types of mechanisms, rolling different dice on different charts and stuff like this. It can't be immersive. And then the other side will say, oh, but,
Yeah.
or, a lighter game will be, and then the other side says, yeah, but I can't believe it. I can't suspend my disbelief in that lighter system, and so it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's going to be lots of barriers and arguments. And so that's, over the years, has pushed me to, what am I paying attention to? If I can, in an enough uninterrupted time, pay attention to such a degree that I'm not paying attention to anything else, then I've now qualified for one of the conditions of a flow state, or that
Yeah. Sure.
autotelic engagement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so then, what is it easier to pay attention to? What is it more difficult to pay attention to? And that makes me run up against my own strengths and weaknesses. Well, it's pretty easy for me to pay attention to what I'm like logically constructing about a moment, right? If this happens, then that would happen. It's harder for me to pay attention to math.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So I used to have really immersive experiences playing Star Wars D6 when I was 19.
Sure.
Now I look at that system and try to run the system, and I still think it's awesome. However,
But
there's four rolls before I know if I hit
yeah,
somebody and did damage.
yeah,
Same with
yep,
the World of Darkness. There's a reason
yeah,
why I stopped playing World of Darkness games really early and became the game master full time. I I just there's something about roll to hit, roll
yeah,
to have missed instead of hit, roll to do
yeah,
damage, roll to have not done any of that damage.
yeah.
There's something about that four-step process which now in my dotage I would prefer not to do. But the solo gaming, the solo gaming, it doesn't answer any of the things that I go to role playing games for. Like
Yeah,
I'm
same.
solitary by nature. So one
Yeah,
of the things that I recognize in role playing games is it gets me in a room with other people.
yep, yeah,
If I immerse myself in solo gaming, who would I ever talk to?
right. Yeah, yeah,
I
yes,
would
yeah,
talk to my wife,
yeah.
and I
Let me
would
see
talk
about
to the
my
dogs,
character.
presumably. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
so I'm not interested personally in solo gaming because it doesn't give me what I'm looking for. I as a person am not interested in the story that happens. I'm not. I'm
yeah,
interested in the decision that I have to make in that
yes,
moment as the character with
yep,
these resources and these abilities. That interests me a lot. I'm interested in the moral dilemma, the ethical dilemma. I'm interested in
yep,
the horror of it, or the
yeah,
pathos of it, or the bathos of it, or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yes, I can obtain those things from solo gaming, but at an awful expense
yeah,
of effort on my part and constant shifting back and forth.
yeah,
So so I don't give solo gaming too much thought, but it really makes me, in a sense, sad is the word that's coming to mind, that
yeah,
for so many people, the only available role
yeah,
playing experience is solo for
yeah,
whatever reason.
yep.
But that's pretty firmly rooted in my experience that it should be social.
Yes. No, I'm with you. I feel the same way when I see it because I'm like, oh man, like, damn, I just want to comment and be like, have you tried this? Have you tried this link? Have you tried this board? Like, there's always someone to play with, but yeah, a lot of it is, yeah, it is
Yeah,
what it is. A lot of folks are bandwidth issues, stuff like that. Which is
yeah,
sad. Yeah,
and
but yeah,
time zones. It's like
yeah, sure, yeah,
when I'm able to play all of North America, it's like saying, "Don't bother me, I'm at work."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You want to play a game? Thermonuclear
yeah.
war.
Right. Yeah, that's how I am now too. Being retired, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just start running games during the week. And I'm just like, who the hell's going to play games during the week?
People in Asia.
Every other human being has to go. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I'll start doing. Be like,
Yeah.
uh,
So I guess on my own scale of measuring things, I would say the solo game,
yeah,
I would be hard pressed to see it providing opportunities for much
yeah,
immersion, the unity of perspective with the
yeah,
character,
yeah,
passively, because I'm so active during a solo game session.
yeah,
There might be opportunities for engagement if I have honed my ability to pay attention sufficiently to withstand the switching costs,
sure, yeah, yeah,
which means I'd have to be extremely adept with the system.
yeah,
So it's not like, what do I need to roll again in this edge case? It's just like I can just use the
yeah,
system. Whatever oracle I'm using, I'm adept at adapting. I mean, year zero is kind of the same with the hit
mhm.
locations and critical hits charts.
Yeah, yeah. If you're using, if the game you're using has all that stuff, yeah, 100%.
Fantasy Flight
Yeah,
games, Star Wars, similarly, there's the 100-point critical hit
yeah,
chart, which is
yeah.
used to support immersion and it's used to argue against immersion
Yes.
equally.
Yeah. Yeah. And that game, is one of the ones that I would defend to my dying breath. The dice were not that complicated. I just
Right.
think it was so different. People weren't sure of it. And then Daggerheart is the same way. I ran Daggerheart online. I have an actual play up on the channel because of the hope and fear. People are like, oh, this is just stupid. I was like, it's not stupid. You just don't have an imagination. You don't have the imagination to sit and roll and look at the roll and go, I'm picking a lock, but it's fear is the high die. And then just not ask the DM a question or anything. And instead, you just need to say, oh, I'm picking the lock. And my pick snaps at the last minute as the lock opens. It's that easy. And people, when you tell people that, they're like, oh my God, really? I was like, yes. Have you read the book? It's really that easy. You just have to think your way through the complex problems. And again, I do think a lot of this is the mother may I syndrome, and I'm not sure how we develop
Sure.
that in gaming.
It's
That's
kind of
a whole
interesting, right?
hot topic. Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I get that's a probably a whole other thing. But Sean and I talked about it. I don't know how this we got on to Mother May I in gaming. It's really weird.
I have a theory.
Oh,
The theory ties back to something we were talking about in the middle. And I guess that's a good place to kind of wrap up the
wrapping it down.
conversation. But
Sorry, I can ramble.
you and me both.
Yeah,
We should do this again.
we
But
should.
the the training method of you are the chosen one, you
Oh,
have the
yeah.
book, you must master its secrets and then teach. Right? That is the a very recognizable social structure that we've been with since we were 5 years old. The teacher tells us what
Yeah.
to do. The teacher tells us how to do it. We obey the teacher. This gives the illusion that the game master has authority and that, I don't have agency. I only get permission to do things if the game master says. Like, all of these problems arise from that.
That is interesting, and you are probably correct. Yeah, that's fascinating, actually, and very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So
yeah,
my
I've
circumstances as a new
go ahead.
gamer, right?
Yeah,
The guy who ran the first game for me had a bunch of older brothers. He had extra copies of basic D&D. So I played the game. He gave me the book and said, "You're going to run our next game."
right on.
So my first impression is that everybody plays, everybody runs, you take turns.
Yeah,
So that's how I was
yeah,
imprinted on the game.
that's awesome.
And we all just kept doing that. And
Yeah,
read the book, make characters, make a world. I'll play in your world, you play in my world, that kind of
yeah,
thing. And
yeah.
that went on that way with me for years. So that's my normal.
Nice.
So to encounter the I've always been the game master, I've never been a player,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
opposite end of this particular
yeah.
spectrum,
Yep, yep.
produces a very different effect.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, that the No Mother May I is like that is part of my session zero with players. It's like, we'll make characters and I will kind of go over some of the things that, the kind of the expectations of, how to do this. And if we have to baby walk a system because you're not used to it, that's fine. I don't mind doing that at all. But yeah, I was like, understand what your character, your stereotype or your archetype is, and never ask me permission to do something. Just tell me what you're doing and I will tell you if there's a modifier to it because it's audacious or tell you it's well within your wheelhouse. Don't even bother with rolling,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that conversation probably gets held enough by people, to be honest, and probably not enforced, by game masters by being
The
willing to let go. You know.
Yeah, let go. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a big one. Just let
it
go.
is.
It's okay.
And for everybody to let go of whatever
Yes.
expectation they had. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I might do something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in what part of
It
your life is that
happens.
not true? So just
Right. Yeah. 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 It happens. Gaming is like getting to the point of really having immersion now that I know we're trying to wrap this up, but this really feels like this might be an interesting level of ego death at the table in front of other human beings where you have to reach that level of like just I'm allowing ego death to occur. Yeah.
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 And
Man.
because there comes, especially if you're playing more mature
Hmm.
games, right, where
Yeah.
there are horrible losses that the characters are experiencing,
Yeah.
and it's telling us something if when we're sitting around the table we're isolated from those feelings, like you were talking about earlier, right? How can we reach the point where I can cry at a movie because of empathy,
Yeah.
but I don't have that same reaction, or it's less intense, or I'm unwilling to engage with it or whatever around the table?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why? Is it just because I'm distracted because I might have to roll dice, or is it that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
the
that little bit embarrassment thing. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It works
yeah,
in weird. Like I have Cult, the fourth edition. I would love to run that game. I know I will never be able to run that game more than likely. Just once you read some of the stuff that's in it, yes, you can leave it out, but my wife is looking through it and she was like, "This book is beautiful. I have the little Bible version of it." And then we got to the page where it's like the examples are very explicitly 1970s. I spit on your grave level of examples in there, and she was just like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Yeah, this will be a game that I've collected because it's awesome, but I will never be able to run this game." you know, I don't want to have this conversation with other people and be like, "Well, here's what happens."
exactly, right.
Yeah, like yeah,
And yeah,
I don't want to be
the
immersed like that.
the Call of Cthulhu campaign I mentioned before, it it got really big. Like, it started out as a single player. Let's give you an opportunity to play old Call of Cthulhu,
Oh yeah.
and then we just it was Ivan and I,
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah. Right on.
we play similarly. So there was no session zero. We just played,
Yeah.
but we
Yeah.
discussed, if let's do it this way. If you wanted to bring in a contact or something, instead of me playing the NPC and being the game master or whatnot, let's recruit somebody.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So the campaign grew and then has taken on multiple independent investigations, all interacting with each other at times. And this has
Right
been
on.
going on for 3 years now.
Right on.
And
Man.
so that campaign became a way, because there never was a session zero. People joined in,
Sure. Yeah.
and just, I think the only thing that we talked about was it was to be atmospheric, it was to be in character play. I'm going to minimize your interaction with the mechanics. Done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you can see different cultures of play, different play styles, different reactions to what's being talked about. Um, and there have been things in the game which have resonated with players because of their own real life experiences. We had a whole bunch of themes going on in the game that hit me really hard when my father passed away. That, as
Yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking, can I get through the description
Yeah.
without without my own
Yeah.
emotion, you know, and
Yeah. Sure.
so one of the things I like about that campaign is how it shows, like, all around this particular topic, this immersive topic, you can see players coming in and out
Yeah.
of attention.
Yeah. Sure.
What's going on in their heads? I can't ever know. I can't say, see,
Yeah.
that
No.
moment
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
5 minutes and 37 seconds, that's when immersion happened. I can't do that.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But I can point to here the player who always says he or character name.
Yes. Yeah.
This is where they stopped doing that and it became I.
Yeah.
And it went for this period of time, and then it went back
Yeah.
to he and character name.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
So
so
what's
weird.
going
I've
on in
never
that
used
moment?
third person as a player. I do not use third person as a player. Never. Not ever. It's so
Unless you're playing a
antithetical
basketball
to.
player.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so weird. Yeah. No. It's true. And again, it's probably because of the horror makes it that much easier. Because I'm getting it's Call of Cthulhu, so we know there's Call of Cthulhu is not known for its action sequences. Because when you get to an action sequence,
somebody dies.
You've
Yeah.
you've lost the game. Yeah. So yeah, Cthulhu probably has some of the best in character memory moments that do not involve an action moment. And that might not be totally true. Maybe like discovering the clues and things like that. I think those are probably the really good memorable moments when you have that like, oh my God, we've been chasing the wrong person. This is a red herring the whole time. And,
This whole time. Yeah.
yeah, the
We need
cultist
to,
is right behind me. You're reading the thing like, oh no. Yeah,
yeah.
so
There's stuff
yeah.
like that. So
Um,
in
yeah,
the
yeah, sure. Yeah.
discussions about the campaign, I asked people, because this is a question I've been asking for a long time now, how do you imagine and what do you imagine when we play? And so I've
Yeah.
learned that there's a lot of people say, well, I don't.
Wow. Okay.
And then I have to kind of parse through that question with them, like, you don't, like, as a separate action, visually
Yeah.
imagine the scene, or you just listen to what's being said and respond to what's being said without that step. Not can or can't imagine, just don't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then some people, their default is to imagine through the eyes of the character, and other people prefer to imagine that third person,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yep.
God mode, looking down on the character.
Yeah.
And this could be informed in younger players by video games and other things.
Yeah.
But in
That's fair.
people our age, right?
Yeah.
They developed their own personal interaction with play before any of those things were available.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's interesting.
It's hard to put yourself in the. I watched my Pong paddle. Did you see what he did? It's like, yeah, no, I was doing the thing. But yeah, no, that is a very good point. Yeah. Yeah.
So this loops us back around to how we started this conversation with there seems to be something hardwired. Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
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 So what's next up for Thieves Guild Games?
What is up next? We are getting ready to go to final edit on Tomb of the Cursed Dead, which is it's a dungeon for Shadow Dark. But it's basically a dungeon that once you get in, the dungeon doesn't want you to leave, and so character death doesn't mean anything to the dungeon. You'll continue to pay the price until you can make it through the dungeon or figure a way out without getting through the final bosses. It's meant to ask the players how far will you go as a player to continue this game? How far are you willing to really risk and sacrifice? And it's just, it's not like Wackadoo Tomb of Horrors, but yeah, there are moments where, my partner is like, you got to put some safe spaces in this damn dungeon where nothing's going to happen. Cause he's like, damn dude, like this is just constant where you don't, and everything is randomized. And if you choose it's Shadow Dark, so it's going to be lethal anyway, but you come to a point where, well, the wizard's out of spell slots. Well, what do you want to do, wizard? Well, I want to rest. Oh, okay, cool. Now the rest of the dungeon just resets itself and it all randomizes again. So all of your mapping is now useless. And he's just like, dude, this is the most brutal thing I've ever seen. He's like, but we played it and, people are like, this is just brutal, but no one ever wants to quit. And it's that, it's that hitting that gamer button of like, oh, you don't want to give up. You're not going to take a knee. So you're gonna do terrible things to one another, and the cursed items. And there's enough stuff in the thing to do that. And then Rich is setting Forlorn Sea, which is like it's not an Arabesque. It's a Farsi-esque setting for Savage Worlds. That will probably be coming out, I think, probably next year. We'll do the Kickstarter maybe near the end of the year. Of this year, and then he's already done with it, all that jazz. He's just got to finish the layout and whatnot. We'll do that, and then a buddy of ours, he has a 5e setting that is like Al-Andalusia meets like a medieval Iberia kind of thing for 5e, which is pretty cool. I told him it's a really good setting. He really put a lot of heart and effort into it and made religion very important, which was his goal, was to engage the players about why religion matters and the religious choices you make in that setting. It's D&D and it's all the fantasy races and stuff. but those religions still matter. And we're doing that, and then oh my gosh, what am I working on? I'm working on Savage. Yeah, I think next up for me is Savage Sunday or Savage. Oh my gosh, Savage 70s. Jeez, I can't even get it out. Savage 70s with the tagline of "Get down, sucker." So it's essentially taking the decade of the 70s for Savage Worlds and all the blaxploitation, the sexploitation, the actions, the kung fu mastery stuff where you're punching through walls and all that jazz, and just pulling it into this amazing setting. And it's a once you get there, and there's a little bit of a secret to it where it's not just normal action people, but we've added a few things from Savage Worlds into it that really, when you once you see it, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Here we go. Okay, this makes so much more sense of why we have our Bruce Lee stand-in character is punching chi circles through people and stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, it's that era of if you played Spirit of 76 or 77, it is really my homage to Dave's game. I love him. I got to fangirl out with him at one point on a podcast interview we did with him. Probably embarrassed myself, but I told him I think he's one of the more sharpest designers and one of the best GMs I've ever seen. So I run 77 every time I get a chance. So I was like,
I
you know
think
what?
people have to give credit where credit is
Yeah,
due, and maybe
it's just,
not calling people on their BS and not giving credit are
yeah,
how we
yeah.
wound up in our
In the
circumstances today.
Yeah, of course, right? Yeah, just no one will budge. But yeah, I love that game. When I first run it, I get the players down, they look confused, and I'm like, all right, listen up, you jive turkey ass, and just go into it. And they're like, what the hell is happening? Then by the end of the game, we got a guy on gold roller skates who's out doing smoke circles, and that's how he's activating his beatdown powers and stuff. And it's just like, this is awesome. Yeah, so I'm doing the Savage. Oh my God, Savage 70s, and we got a few things on deck after that. It just never stops. I
Yeah,
have nothing else to do, so I keep inventing. Our Trello board is a nightmare for Rich right now.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah. So we're trying to stay busy. We're trying to stay busy. I'm trying to stay busy. We're trying to get this. We just want to make an impact in the industry, and I'm gonna start doing some videos on how I design games and why I design games, and like sit down and maybe make a game from scratch for people, and say,
Yeah,
look, let's, why am I making this game? And like I said, with OSNR, I only made that game because Magic doesn't feel special in any D&D game. So I was like, well, damn it, I'm going to write a game where Magic is the central focus of it, and it makes it feel special. And the feedback I got initially is whoever wrote this game hates people who play spellcasters. And I was like, I don't hate you. I just want you to understand that Magic is powerful, and it should be at a cost to the person meddling in things you shouldn't meddle with. But on the converse side of that, you're going to do amazingly wonderful things.
right.
And you're
There's
not going to be a glass
fuel
cannon.
for the
Yes.
imagination.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, yeah. There's good magic, bad magic, and fairy magic. And you get the choice of what you cast. And black magic is far easier to cast, but at a higher price. It's real simple stuff. And so I want to start doing videos on that, because that really is my fundamental arrogant design philosophy. I think it's just like, I'll see a problem like, no one can master this correctly. I don't know why you people continue to design games like it's 1975. Oh my God, can we just do something different? Like Neon Blood, I did that because I said the initiative systems are terrible in gunfight games. So in Neon Blood, the original, you roll your initiative, and then
Hmm.
say you get a 12, you break that initiative up by the number of actions you want, as long as the total, it's like you roll a 12 and you can go on 8 and 4, or you can go on, 8, 3, and 1. It's all up to you. You just can't repeat a number. And that keeps for me, that's a frantic action sequence where
Yeah,
you are now choosing, do I go first and go once, or do I go many times? Because I want to get more bullets out, or I want to get more hacking done. And so that was the entire design intent of that game originally was, Cyberpunk does not do, they did a Shadowrun, it doesn't do action sequencing well. Yeah. So
right. Or
again, arrogance.
at least people around the
Yeah.
table are going to be dissatisfied, guaranteed,
Yes.
by Why
Yes,
does he get
100%.
to go 4
Yeah.
times? Because he's got.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was it. And like I said, you have a design thing, and then it's like, okay, cool. Well, now I need mechanics to support this for every character, so no one feels left out. And hacking needs to be able to take place at the same time as the gunfight and still matter, where it's not bogging things down, and the hacker can still go at it. So that's how I was like, okay, well, you got hacking, and then the hacker can essentially create a bot, put pause on the hacking of the system, and then go down, through their teammates because everything is connected, just like it is now. And now the hacker can start engaging the enemy and fighting through their firewalls to shut down their guns and their optics and their cyberware through their teammates to give them a break in a firefight, pull back, and then continue the hack. But everything comes at a cost, and it's like again, my games always ask you. I think every game I design is, what are you willing to risk as a player to accomplish what you want? And it's not going to be a +1, -1, because that is the most boring answer you could possibly have.
Right. And that speaks volumes about our topic, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That choice, as out of character as it sounds, right? What are you willing to wager in order to achieve game effect?
Yeah.
As you've described it in relation to the game, right?
Yeah.
Is exactly what you're deciding. And as playing the role-playing game, we get to zoom in on that moment. And, what am I bringing?
Yeah.
But I might get shot. So I'm just going to stay behind cover.
You're not even there. Yeah. No, that's it. I know it's a long-winded thing for what we're going on with Thieves Guild Games. That's it, though. We're just continuing to develop. We're trying not to focus on Savage Worlds too much because people think we really are a Savage Worlds company. Rich and I are both aces for Pinnacle, so we have the ability to produce all of our Savage material. But we branch out here and there, and it just Savage Worlds
is always better to follow your inspiration rather than follow a market need or.
Yes, we learned that with the Tomb of the Cursed Dead and the Kickstarter. So, yeah, we assumed that the Shadow Dark community was just and it's like they're not really like that. So we got support. It just wasn't. We shot too high. We wanted to do offset printing for a first to try that, and it's just that requires too much, and we're not known in that community. Where in Savage Worlds, it's like, oh, we're name recognition. It's just like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's all good then. Yeah.
All right then.
Are you going to write any games at some point?
Am I going to write? I have only historically done mechanisms. The last full game that I wrote was way back in the 90s, just before I moved here. I like to joke that I invented Savage Worlds because it was a die step system, which I had never seen before.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And but deep down, I think I get most of my satisfaction out of reading something new or something like that, and internalizing it, learning it, and then having good experiences at the table. That seems to be. I'm working on a system right now, which, if it passes I've had this on my desktop working on it for a few months, and I don't hate it at the end. If it passes that, then I'm going to start working on it more to see if I want to go that distance.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I designed OPENSIX is a game I designed that once players play it, they're like, "Oh my god!" But it's getting it to that point where they're letting. It's the ultimate you have to let go game. So keep writing, man. Keep writing, man. You're a very intelligent dude, and you've got a lot of knowledge and history in the hobby. I think whatever you produce is going to be very cool. And then I'll take it and be like, he obviously missed this step.
this step right here.
He didn't do this one thing right. I'll design an entire game around that.
That'll make the experience perfect. But you know what I actually honestly expect is the point where I do release the game, someone will say, well, this is just a copy of this game from
Oh,
1979.
it happens all the time. When I was describing OpenSix to people, we did a video on it. One of the comments was, "Well, any game could do this." False. I'm telling you, no game will do this because I have all your games that you're going to list, and none of the games do this. Your games are all I hit, I miss, I hit, I miss, I hit, I miss, and that's the be all end all of your imagination sequence. You might sprinkle in some nice words about I slice him here, like okay, cool story, you know. And he got it once I explained. I was like, watch the video, watch the video, watch how the system works. But yes, you're not wrong. You're always going to have the little trolls who are just like, oh, this just draws on Stratego and Volume 2.
Yeah. So I'll have to become more like you and open my heart
Yes.
to the world, become more forgiving and outgoing. And then I'll be able to publish the
I have stopped being spicy. And when someone says some weird stuff, now I just say, I'm sorry this is happening to you. And that is my only comment now. That's it. I just, I don't got time. I have a company to try to build.
well, and that's
If you don't like
and
it,
that's the thing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If more games, I'm going to take a step back. If more writers of games had the ability and the willingness, page count, resources, whatever,
Yeah.
right? Time to not preach, but bake in their particular philosophy of gaming, their particular culture of play, then it doesn't take very long for that to propagate through the circles of people who play the game and change perspectives and add options.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a reductive thing. It can be an additive thing. Well, I can do this and this, and I can try it this way. But the history of game writing shows that there are barriers to including that.
Yeah. That's a big question too. People are like, well, how would I do this? And it's like, look, I'm not trying to sound like a smartass, but the moment the game comes in your hands, it's no longer my creation. You do whatever you want. Like, you don't have to ask me. I could tell you what I was thinking when I wrote it or why I wrote something, but that's me. And if you don't enjoy that or you think it could work a different way, don't ask. I just do it. And that's a really hard thing to get across to people because, again, I think it's that instinctual, like you said, it's the instinctual mother may I. So it's like, well, the author obviously is the teacher who knows best. I'm like, no, man, I'm a barely functioning 53-year-old dude in Tennessee. Like, I don't know best. I just type. And I think of mechanics because players are terrible. And so I have to think of the mechanic that will not allow a player to try to win Dungeons and Dragons.
So you are putting
it. Yeah.
It's cool. All right.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming on, Scott. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been
too long.
Exactly
we should do this again.
I'd like to. If you're retired now, then
I literally have nothing to do. Like every day is Saturday. I did 30 years in the military. So yes, I'm not eager to do the workforce or anything anytime soon. So yeah, I'm at your disposal. Whatever spicy topic du jour you want, because this one is definitely the one that I perked a lot of ears on. The moment I say I don't believe in immersion in gaming is when people are like, yeah.
What I thought was interesting about that, like even years ago, the last time we interacted about this topic, I felt like nobody asked you why.
Yeah, no, they just want to demand that I'm wrong. I'm like,
it's just you go straight to you were wrong.
It's crazy.
And not even like, well, in my experience, these things, regularly happen in games. So if it's not immersion, what is it? Or none of that engagement. It was just like you're wrong, and a lot of parroting conversations that other people have had seems to be one of the foundation building blocks of that argument. Well, they say immersion is real, and these people I hate say immersion's not real. So don't be one of the people that I hate. Come join my team.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I used to get myself in a lot of trouble. And I try to control it now, but like the people who preach the most, I'm like, cool. The answer's easy. Give me an actual play. And then, of course, it's like, well, APs aren't interesting. They're not entertaining. I said, you're lying. I do APs all the time. I run games that are witnessed, are viewed by thousands of people. The comments are 99% positive. They love the style. They love how I flow. They love the interactions and characters. So either you can't or you won't. And those are the two choices that I usually give people. Like you do a lot of this, but not a lot of show. And I believe that it's better to show, not tell. You know?
Wicked. Truth.
Yeah.
All right. Until we think of the next spicy topic, if you survive through this entire entire chat with us, so excited to
Wow.
share ideas.
Yeah, you don't get the. I don't. You don't have this level of discussions all the time. So this is fun. Yeah, just chop it in pieces.
It's 5 minutes.
Listen to it while you're doing the lawn. Yeah, yeah. Just listen to it while you're doing the lawn. Whatever.
Until next time, take care, everyone.
Yeah, man. All right.